I'm with the County Grande Prairie Regional Enforcement Services. And welcome everyone to the Dimsdale Crime Prevention Town Hall meeting. This is our third one that we've had for the year. We were in Beaver Lodge, Claremont, and we have Webster next week. The crime prevention is a strategic priority from Council. It's an opportunity tonight for residents and business owners. Okay, takeaway from tonight's town hall. So we're going to hear from the RCMP. We're going to get insights on crime trends and safety initiatives. We're going to learn about safety assessments, so what they are and how to request one. And we are going to connect one-on-one directly with the presenters after the session, after each presenter. And we have two booths set up in the back. We have Apex Security and WAPA Defense here, so you can get information from them on ways you can help reduce crime in your area. And then, like I said, you have your Q&A period after each presenter, and we also have these bristle boards. These are very important. So we have stickers here, so after the presentation, we would really appreciate it if each person gets 2 stickers, and if you go through these and place what is it like of value to you. So like open communication with my neighbors, learning my rights as a property owner, just so we can get an idea of what is of value to you guys so that we can focus more on that. Stickers, each get 2 stickers. Okay, what is a safety community coordinator? So the role was approved in 2024, and it supports Council's priority, which is community wellness and safety. It's part of the County Grande Prairie Regional Enforcement Services focused on rural crime prevention. And the objects are to build strong community partnerships, enhance collaboration with peace officers and RCMP. So the goal tonight, take the time to engage the different enforcement agencies that are here, ask questions, give any comments and feedback, and it's to serve as a bridge between residents and enforcement. So I'm just going to make a couple introductions. So first we have our new superintendent, Kyle Palfy. If you could come on up, Kyle. Go ahead. Introduce myself. Yeah, you can do that.
Hi, my name is Kyle Palfy. I'm the Director of Regional Enforcement Services for the County of Grande Prairie. Superintendent's the rank, I guess, that goes with the position. I'm a retired member of the RCMP. Worked 26 years with them. Actually 26 when they wrote the bio. I've worked here in Grande Prairie 2 different stints. Once as a constable in the detachment, promoted to corporal, ended up being a rural operations NCO when Beaver Lodge and Grande Prairie Rural were combined. And then I came back as in Matt's role as the operations NCO for the rural detachment. So I'm familiar with the area and the crime problems that we've had in the past. Obviously things change. We've got Staff Sergeant Short here as well, and Sergeant Chris Power from the Crime Reduction Unit. So I work with Lindsay and the peace officers and the bylaw enforcement officers in the Regional Enforcement Unit. They're out there doing what they can to ensure safety with its traffic safety with the peace officers, ensuring that your neighbors are maintaining their properties, the ones that sometimes are into little nefarious things and not looking after their places. They're the ones that get the RCMP involved and get involved to clean up the property and get those individuals dealt with. There's only so much that we're able to do under that peace officer umbrella. With the position here, the Community Safety Coordinator, we're able to partner with the RCMP, the county is able to partner with the RCMP and other agencies that do law enforcement to address things at a reduction level versus an enforcement or a response level. The Mounties we know are busy. They're constantly responding to different things here and there. They don't always have time to put that effort into the crime reduction initiatives. So the position of the Community Safety Coordinator was the county's implementation to get those initiatives out and take that burden away and ultimately reduce the crime burden that's happening to our citizens, but also reduce that workload for the RCMP.
Thank you, Kyle. And now Lee Brockman, our general manager, if you could come on up and introduce yourself.
Thanks. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for making the time to come out. I'm Lee Brockman. I'm the General Manager of Community Services for the County of Grande Prairie. I've been in this role for about 5 months now. Regional Enforcement Services is one of the departments under my portfolio, my service area. I also oversee agriculture, FCSS, libraries, recreation and culture, as well as enforcement services, regional fire services, and I'm one of the deputy directors of emergency management as well. So, but I came to the county with a background in enforcement as well. I was with the RCMP for 20 years. My last position was as the superintendent in charge of the Grande Prairie RCMP detachment, so both the city and the rural portions of the detachment. You know, throughout my policing career, I served in many communities across Alberta, from the far northern part of the province all the way through to spent a lot of time in eastern Alberta and a lot of time in western Alberta as well. Ending my career in Grande Prairie, we really liked the area and thought it's a great place to set down roots and call home. So that's what brought me over to the county, and the job really intrigued me as well. We get the opportunity to, through the enforcement services world, really focus on the community aspect of safety and wellness, right? So really focusing on how we can work with community, with our council, and with our other partner organizations and agencies to enhance that community safety and wellness aspect, right? And we can do that through things like you know, preventative efforts, enforcement services, proactive patrols, all those things that supplement the police work that the police do, right? So really that community engagement level of service. So yeah, looking forward to the discussion tonight, for sure. And with that, I will turn it over to Lindsay.
Okay, so I know we said we're going to keep questions till the end of each presenter. So if you guys have questions for Lee or Kyle, we're going to hold those till the end after our presenters, just in case this information gets covered. So I'd now like to introduce Staff Sergeant Matt Short, and he can cover a bunch of questions and ask him questions.
Are we moving slides here, or am I doing that on my own? You've got the widget? Ooh, look at that. Now I got to figure out what button. Now I got to figure out what button to push. Oop, other way. All right. Yeah, thanks everybody. My name's Matt Short. I'm the Staff Sergeant in charge of the Grande Prairie Rural Detachment. I've been with the RCMP just under 20 years now. It's my 19th year. It's also my 15th year working in the Grande Prairie area. So like Lee and Kyle, I started here as a constable in the city, promoted into the rural as a corporal back in 2014, back to the city in 2017 as a watch commander sergeant, and then into this role in 2021. So when it comes to the rural policing, quite a lot to do with that here in Grande Prairie and going on. Our detachment area is geographically ginormous, is the word I would use. We go south down to the Kakwa River. We go north up to the county line. West, not too far out of the city limits, only to Range Road 75, and then east past Crooked Creek to Range Road 260. So we cover about 14,000 square kilometers of real estate. Just as in comparison, the city has about 75 square kilometers. So, you know, it sounds like a lot of space. The city also has about 3 times the number of calls that we have in that small space. So, but we are quite spread out. To cover that, we have 26 police officers in a variety of different roles. General duty constables, 16 of those. We now have 4 road supervisors in corporal positions, kind of into 4 different watches. Unit commander, that's me. We have our support units. This has changed a little bit since this slide was put together. We're now with our GI units down to 3-man GI unit, a corporal and 2 constables. We did that just to help boost our road supervisors and whatnot for the watches and the general duty. We do have a PDS provincially funded member working out of the detachment. And then we have access to our FIS members out of the detachment. Our real-time operations center, which is in Edmonton. That's usually a senior NCO and a support team in there with some analysts to give us real-time information when we're responding to events. And then we have a containment team within the district, which for some of those high priority events is a local team to help us secure those more serious events. Our support staff, when we're dealing with this, is what you see there. They are made up from our government employees, the public sector employees working for us now. They cover a number of different budget lines for us. Budget and finance exhibits is an area they're not involved in just yet, but will be helping us with shortly. Video, court services, our front counter, criminal record checks, everything, CPIC, you name it, they're helping us with it. So with all that, we talk about our crime stats for the area. They are trending, what you see there, 20% down overall when we compare last year to this year. That's a 27% reduction in persons crimes, 14% when it comes to property crime, 31% reduction on criminal code offenses. Over the 5 years, we're still trending down in the right direction. The percentages are a little lower than what you see there. They're just under 10% overall, so we are still moving in the right direction for that. We talk about complaints and calls for service. We're broken up over a couple of different areas, but in the last 23 and 2024, we had about 13,036 calls for service for the RCMP between the two areas. The bulk of those calls come from the Grande Prairie, County of Grande Prairie, so that generates about 11,620 calls over the last couple of years for us. The MD of Greenview, by comparison, is about 1,400 calls. So they still, again, they have a larger geographical footprint, but obviously our calls for service are much lower in that area. When we look at, just kind of go down the stats aisle a little farther, we look at things that are important. Break and enters are clearly, when we compare 2023 to 2024, all the way across, we're doing much better. Same when it comes to whatever's next on the slide. Theft of vehicles, right? Same thing. The percentages were a little higher the first quarter of 2024, but then started kind of bouncing around. Overall, we did fairly well on that one between the 2 years. Family violence is also always an area that we pay particular attention to. Again, we're trending in the right direction when it comes to those, quarter by quarter, and dealing with some of those going in the right direction for us. And the same with mental health calls. Obviously, that's an area that we focus on a lot. We have access in this area. We're quite fortunate still to have RPACT working in the same building as us, which gives us the opportunity to utilize them a little bit more than some of the other communities that are a little further away or a little harder for them to access. That helps us with those reductions so that we can see those coming down in the right direction for us as well. Annual performance plan. So over the last year, every year we have an annual performance plan which helps us generate our list of priorities for the year. We break them into 3 areas. The first area that we really looked at was community engagement and communication. That was targeting school visits. Youth are an important area for us to focus on. One of the great ways for us to do that is just by engaging with the students and the kids in their schools. That's what put school visits on our list. Our target for our last fiscal year was 80 school visits. This year we were able to complete 116 visits with schools. We are looking to do school presentations as part of that. Our goal was 12. We got a little weird with the reporting numbers there, so I don't actually have an exact number of how many presentations we were able to accomplish. I know we did them, but I can't give you the number for it. And then community-led cultural training, that was for the members so that we understand that there's a diverse community both in the city and rural. We want to be able to better understand and work with those agencies and those communities. So that led to those getting in there. Members were able to get some extra training dealing with autism, mental health, some of the other particular ethnic groups that work in the area. So that was very, very valuable for the members. The other next priority that we wanted to focus with is crime reduction. That was, curfew checks are an important area for us when we deal with that. We acknowledge that, right? We always know that 95% of the crime that we deal with sometimes is the same 5% of the people in those prolific and repeat offenders. So one of the ways and one of the tools that we have to deal with those offenders is by maintaining and keeping them honest on their conditions. Curfew checks are a great way of doing that. If you have a curfew that you're supposed to be at home between 10 and 6 in the morning, or 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., we want to make sure that you're there. Our target for last year was to complete 100 of those checks. As you can see, we got 280 done in the last year, so we were able to do way better than our target on that one. And that has a benefit for us too. Those generate those breach files. Then we were able to keep those people accountable. If they're breaching those conditions, we were able to put them back in jail and get them off the streets and out of the community. Joint enforcement initiatives is the other one. You would think in crime reduction, it's important for us to work with our policing partners. That's with the county enforcement, conservation officers, a wide variety of different policing agencies that are out there that provide services. We don't always work together real well and then share information. So one of the initiatives that we had was to make sure that we are working with those agencies and doing that work. So our target was to do one a month, right? If we could do one a month, I think we're doing pretty good. We did 60 over the year. So a lot of those were off-highway vehicle patrols, working with both the county and conservation. We spent time working with the MD of Greenview and their enforcement services, and a lot of different agencies throughout the year. Enhanced service delivery was the final area that we wanted to really focus on for our last year's annual performance plan. One of those areas is investigational integrity. So when we talk about that, we're talking about getting back to our complainants and closing the door so that people know when they call the RCMP that A, we've done something, and B, you get to know what happened with your file. We can't always give you all the information, but we can tell you, yeah, we got it and we're working on it, or something is happening when you make that call for service. The target that we have is 75% compliance with that, which seems really low if you're only talking about 3/4, but that doesn't take into account the self-generated work that members do. So if we're generating work for ourselves, we're generating those files. The only complaint we have is ourselves. We can't really fudge it on the numbers. So that 25% accounts for the extra work that members are doing in addition to the 75. So we were doing very well when it came to getting back to that. Our compliance rate was 76%. We're going to tweak those numbers hopefully this year so that we can identify complainant files, so that we can give that a better representation of how many complainants we're actually contacting, so that we can maybe talk a little bit more accurately about that. The last one that we do is community safety patrols. Really relates to visibility in the communities. People want to see the police that are out there and that they're patrolling and going through their communities and helping do that. So that was something we recognized a few years back. We've been working steadily on this as a goal. Our targets are getting better and better all the time. Claremont, we were just over 4,000 patrols or presence in that community. Sexsmith was about 1,400. Grovedale, DeBolt, and some of the other communities. Dimsdale was on there. I didn't add it to this list. My apologies. We're about the same. We're about the same as the Dunes when it comes to the Dimsdale area. We're about 800 times out here dealing with things, and we had a lot of success in doing that. Those patrols, while they show the flag, they also give us an opportunity. We've had a number of good files out of those patrols, especially when it comes to like occupied stolen vehicles. We've had a few of those, traffic enforcement, a lot of different initiatives that aren't going to be represented on this when you see it, but that they've provided a lot of positive work for us. As part of our annual performance plan, and covered all of that, was to move. The transition with the Grande Prairie City Police obviously has an impact on the rural operations. One of those is we get to be homeless, right? As the city takes over the downtown detachment and it becomes the Grande Prairie Police Service Station. So we moved. We took over the ground floor of the Western Alberta District building. We're there now. That's 10605 Westside Drive. We have a front counter space in there, same services that provided the community that you would have gotten in the downtown detachment. So if you want to report a collision, you would come to that space instead of going to their community or collision reporting center, because we're not associated with that any longer. Criminal record checks, you want to do that, you want to come to the to our office. You don't want to go downtown, and if you do, they will turn you away and they'll send you to us. All of those services. You want to file a complaint, talk to a member, those things are available from that location. So this year, we talk about our community. So we talk about our annual service plan for last year. This year, it looks really pretty much the same as what we did last year. We're looking at community engagement, same school visits and presentations. We're looking to increase the number of school visits. If we were able to do 116 visits last year, it's not unreasonable to expect that we could complete 100 again this year and keep that trend moving in the right direction. Increase the number of town halls. Granted, here we are. That's one of the things we want to do. It's great that the County of Grande Prairie is facilitating this one. Our goal is to do at least one every quarter. Some in the county, some in the MD of Greenview as well, right? Again, crime reduction, curfew checks. We saw the success and the value in doing that last year. We're going to continue that again this year. We're increasing the number base number from 100 up to 150 since we were able to do really well with that. Joint initiatives, again, we're keeping that on our to-do list. We're keeping that number now. If we established a good number last year, we're going to keep going there. And then mail theft is in some of the town halls we've done prior to this one, and some of the community feedback that we've gotten is that mail theft is an issue. So we're looking to get at least 2 special projects over the next year that will target that particular issue and hopefully have a positive impact dealing with that. Service delivery, talked about it a little bit on the previous slide there. We're looking to, again, make sure that we get back to our complainants, close those doors so that people know what we're doing. The target this year, it's going to say 95% of any file that has a complainant with it, right? So that way we can actually get a little bit more specific about what we're trying to do and who we're trying to contact so that we can actually report on that. The community patrols, 4,000 community patrols for Claremont seems pretty high. We want to maintain that level at this stage. I think if we can improve on it, great, but that's a pretty good number to try and maintain and keep that presence out in the community. And then traffic safety is something we're going to focus on this year from a service delivery standpoint. Hasn't been on our performance plan for the last couple of years. Really has to do with tickets and traffic stops, just to try and get some accountability on some of the highways. Some of the feedback we got was a little increased accountability for some of the raceways that are out there. So we'll try and work on those specific areas. Just go back to the transition for a couple minutes. We do get lots of questions about how the policing transition in the city is going to impact rural residents. It won't, is the easiest answer I can give you. The provincially funded positions have always been within the detachment. They were traditionally kind of embedded within the detachment as one entity. What we've done now is just separated ourselves out of that detachment, but the members that were providing that service are the same members that were doing it a year ago, right? And those positions are still there. So we're still providing that service. It shouldn't really have an impact on anything from a rural community standpoint, right? Some of the other things I think that we're doing by working with the County of Grande Prairie and their enforcement services a little bit more and some of those other policing agencies, I think will have a better impact for the community in a positive way than what we've seen in years before. Will there be a new detachment for Grande Prairie Rural? Hopefully, yes, at some point. I don't know what the timeline for that is looking like. It's a government process, so there's lots of collaboration between the Government of Canada, the RCMP, the Province of Alberta, the County of Grande Prairie as well. So that's a process with a lot of stakeholders and a lot of people that need to have their say on what that building's going to look like. So it's a process. It's being developed and worked on now, but like I said, it's a bit of a slow process to get through. And that's all I have. Yep. So the municipal positions will be embedded within that detachment structure that we have. So it should not have, it won't have a negative impact on that. We want to make sure that we're still maintaining that, those patrols. No, it'll still be us. Those positions are going to be embedded within the existing structure. So it doesn't add any new positions, but it doesn't take away anything out of that either. The 5 support members that used to belong to our General Investigation Services, our Special Investigation Unit, Crime Reduction Unit, and our Drug Unit. So those are the ones that are amalgamated now within our specialty unit in the rural detachment, right? So there's not 5 support members now. That's down, it is down to 3 support positions for those areas, but we'll make that work. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we do, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so FIS is our forensic identification section, so that's our CSU guys. PDS is our police dog service, so, right? Yeah, real-time operations center, I know we talked about that one. We'll go from there. We can clean that one up. That is good feedback, I don't mind that. Right? Go ahead. Yeah. Why is that so high? So one of the reasons is that, and that's a good question too. Over the last year, one of the things we've focused on a lot is working out of the community services building out in the Claremont area. So with the change and the change in structure, we have some space out there. So especially during the day and quite a lot even in the evenings, we will work out of that facility. So that does a couple of things for us. It helps improve our response time to the community. Claremont is probably one of our biggest providers when it comes for criminal activity, so we want to be in that area too. So it does get a lot of extra attention compared to some of the other areas. That is one of the things we want to work on with the members too, is to kind of push them out a little bit further into some of the more outlying areas, so we can see some of the improvement in some of those communities as well. Right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
As far as dumping garbage from the town coming out to residential, as far as using private property for ditches, is that the difference between if it's on my property, private property, as opposed to in the ditch, how you guys address it, or do we talk to you guys go clean it up? Or who do we go about to talk?
Usually property dumping is more going to be an county enforcement issue than an RCMP issue. So I'm going to pass that, right? As any good government operation is, we'll point at the other guy, right? But yeah, that one would better be directed to Kyle and his team. Sure.
So what about trespassing and people shooting guns on their land and stuff like that?
Trespassing, yeah, that's something we deal with quite often, right? Depends on what you're dealing with. You're talking about 2 different things. If you're talking about a trespasser, county enforcement might be able to help you with some of those provincial acts. We certainly can as well. Obviously, a firearms thing or anything firearms related, we're going to want to deal with and absolutely give us a call if we can get out. Even if we can't get out and identify the people, it puts us in the area if there's something going on. So, and that's where the value of calling us when you have something or you see something, hear something suspicious. We may not always get the person that we're looking for, but it puts us in the area and it puts that presence out there if we need to do that. So always make that call. It's not an issue. It's not a burden. That's what we do.
It's mostly river goers.
Yeah, right. So it's absolutely, and we have a boat. So if we know that, when we know we're having an issue,
You're going to get to know me well.
well,
I'm going to start complaining.
that's okay. That's okay because that's how we generate the information. So if we identify an issue, our boats are centralized a bit now, so we can talk with our district and say, okay, look, we're having an issue. We want to do some river patrols out there to try and show the flag and get some positive contacts out of that. So that's absolutely something we can do. Oh yeah, we're there. Yeah, we do a lot of time in the gravel pit. It's same deal though. If you hear or see anything, give us a call so we can come out. We can't always be there, but the dunes and that in their area and that whole gravel pit area is. It's a bit of all of the above really fits into that to that area, right? We get kids having parties. We get guys going to sight their rifles because they don't want to do it at the range. We get squatters down there. We get copper wire theft and wire stripping down there. It's a real good spot if you want to do evil, right? So we do spend a lot of time in there too. All right, now Chris can go up.
Matt was very eager to take the credibility for the flashing red and blue lights that you've been seeing here, but there's a very good chance it was county enforcement. So just say it. Okay, now we have Chris Power. What are you, a constable or like what are you? Sergeant, staff sergeant? Yeah, from Beaver Lodge. Here's Chris.
That's the guy. But I'm not here as the Beaver Lodge guy, right, Lindsay? I'm here as the crime reduction guy. But I'm wearing two hats, so yeah, exactly. So good to be here, everyone. So my name's Chris Power. I'm currently filling in on an interim basis as the commander of the Beaver Lodge Detachment. So I'm not sure if any of you folks live in the Beaver Lodge Detachment area, but yeah, okay, perfect. So certainly happy to have some conversations with you folks afterwards if there's any concerns or issues from Beaver Lodge that you'd like to discuss. But I am here wearing my hat as the commander of the district's Rural Crime Reduction Unit. So the Rural Crime Reduction Unit, there's 4 of them across the province. So each RCMP district, South, Central, Eastern, and Western have a crime reduction unit. And the crime reduction units were started in 2018, and that was when the provincial government at the time listened to the RCMP, listened to the citizens in the rural areas of the province, and identified that rural crime was certainly an issue that was of importance to many residents in the rural areas, many folks from industry, and this was the RCMP's plan to dedicate provincial units to specifically target those offenders that are committing the majority of our crime. So the team is based out of Grande Prairie. We work out of the district office, which is located at the same building that Matt had up there as the temporary home of the GP Rural Detachment. There's myself as a sergeant, a corporal, and 6 constables, and we serve 24 detachments from that office. So we cover all the way down to Drayton Valley, all the way up to High Level, all the way across Highway 16 to Jasper, and kind of all points in between. So it's a huge geographic area and lots of crime occurring within. So what we do is primarily plainclothes policing. So if we're working in your community, if we're being good at what we're trying to do, you don't know that we're there. We're driving, regular looking pickup trucks or SUVs, just wearing ball caps and hoodies and jeans, and we're mainly doing surveillance activities on the offenders that commit what we believe to be the majority of the rural crime in the area. So some of those folks are involved in things like break-and enters, vehicle thefts, a lot of industry theft. So copper wire is a big one, being stole from oil and gas. Not as much of an issue up in this neck of the woods now as it was a few years ago. We're seeing a huge increase of it in the southern part of the district, down around Hinton and Edson, but it's not as bad up here. Still a significant problem, but we've made some strides addressing some of the offenders up in this area that were prolific in that area. The type of work that we do is what we call intelligence-led policing. So we collect information that comes from the boots on the ground members at the detachment. So some of the Matt's team in Grande Prairie Rural, for example, might come across information about somebody who's suspected to be involved in criminal activity within the rural area that they cover. And if it exceeds the ability of their resources, which he shared with you, they'll reach out to us at the district to see if we can support them. So we've done a number of projects in the county over the last few years. A couple of examples would be, we did one on the south side of Bear Lake a few years ago where we did a search warrant at a Quonset, recovered over $100,000 worth of stolen property, everything from weed whackers to industrial welding units, a couple of stolen vehicles. We've done copper wire files in the western part of the county here where we've used aircraft from Ontario, so RCMP assets from other provinces to come in and conduct air surveillance on individuals as they steal from oil and gas sites. So a lot of the work that we do is pretty extensive. It's not a lot of 1 or 2 day projects. It's a lot of multi-day or multi-week projects. And unfortunately, sometimes you put a lot of hours into these things and circumstances change. The offender ends up relocating to another area of the province, and you're kind of back to square one and starting with the next guy or girl. So a lot of the stuff that we do involves judicial authorizations, or what would commonly be referred to as search warrants. So we'll have to do surveillance on an offender. If you tell us, this guy that lives up Range Road 75 here at this property, we think that there's stolen stuff going in and out of there. So what we do is we take that information, then we have to corroborate it. So we do surveillance, we make a lot of observations, follow people that come in and out of that property, basically compile enough information that we can tell a story to a judge that says, Your Worship, we had information that there's thieves living here. We went out and did all this surveillance. This is what we saw. And we believe, based on that there's stolen property there. Can you sign this piece of paper that allows us to legally go in there and look? So we do a lot of that, and it takes a lot of work to do that. But often it's quite rewarding when we get in there and recover stuff and get it back to its rightful owners and lay charges. The other thing that we do is we support the detachments in going after some of the high-risk offenders. So, if you folks read the local news, listen to the radio, you hear the same names often, year after year, getting arrested. And it's getting a lot more violent out there. A lot of these individuals are fleeing from the uniformed police officers, So you think, okay, these people just committed a theft, a witness sees them going up the road, calls the police come, they're getting arrested and going to jail. Well, the police put the red and blue lights on, and that person just drives like a complete maniac and smashes into people and, carries on. Obviously, for safety reasons, most of the time, it's not worth it for us to chase somebody who just stole a lawnmower and put a bunch of people at risk that are on the highway, So what we're able to do, though, with a covert capacity is follow these individuals. We'll follow them for hours sometimes, wait till there's an opportune time, they get out of the vehicle and get far enough away from the driver's seat that we can swoop in and get them. So we do a lot of that support to detachments to go after these people, to reduce the risk to the public that occurs whenever they're out doing their criminal activity. We work a lot with partnering agencies as well, internal agencies within the RCMP, or sections I should say. So police dog services, I'll try not to use acronyms here. Police dog services, air services. So we use helicopters, we use surveillance airplanes. We use a section that we call that installs covert equipment, so we can get a warrant from a judge to track somebody's movement, install a tracker on their car or on their cell phone, those types of things. So we do that quite frequently. We've just got a lot of internal specialized units. We've got an auto theft unit that helps us out quite a bit when it comes to property crime and stolen vehicles. So again, just an additional level of support above and beyond what your detachment is able to provide. One of the big things that we try to do as well is encourage residents in the areas that we serve to make those calls about suspicious activities. So when I say we're intelligence-led policing, that intel and that information has to come from somewhere. So that intel could come from one of you folks just simply calling the police, But if you're a little bit nervous about that, which is reasonable and a lot of people tend to be, you have other options. So Crime Stoppers is a great one. We've initiated some files from Crime Stoppers tips that have turned out to be very, very successful. We also use what we call confidential informants. So individuals that are involved in the criminal world that we're able to make friends with and establish a relationship where they share information with us that we're able to use. So it's a huge one because we find a lot of the time folks will say, you know, everyone out here knows that this particular property is involved in criminal activity and that this guy or girl is, but without people sharing that information with us, it just really makes our lives difficult in order to advance any investigations. So I think the biggest one I would encourage you to use if you're hesitant about calling the police and having your name or phone number or anything on the record is to use Crime Stoppers, because we're able to really take advantage of that service. In our line of work, because we're plainclothes, we rarely ever have the opportunity to engage with folks in the community. So, you know, the odd time we'll look up a file regarding a particular offender that was reported to the police, and we may reach out via telephone to get a little bit more information. But we don't really get to meet people in person very much. So an opportunity like tonight for me is huge. So I look forward to, you know, speaking with any of you. If you want to have, just have questions about what type of work we do, or, you know, how folks can help, I'd be very happy to have a conversation. So I don't really have much more to share. Last time I did this, I had a whole bunch of slides, but Lindsay told me I had too many slides. So I said, you get none this time, Lindsay. So. Yeah. No. Yeah, so thanks very much, and I'll stick around till... What are we doing now? I thought I had to wait till the end. Doesn't Chad have to go?
No, after.
Okay. I will take your questions.
So if we see something, who do we phone? Like non-emergency, 911?
You know what? Great time to ask that question, because the RCMP has just launched a new non-emergency telephone number. It's 310-RCMP. I know, yeah. Yeah, that's it. The pizza joint's been using the 310s for about 20 or more years. We're on it now. So that they just rolled that out, like, I think officially it doesn't get rolled out maybe till next week. Or maybe it's this week. Yeah. 310 RCMP. Chad, what is that? 72? I don't even know the numbers, but yeah. Chad will get on it for you. Okay, so just to finish that, I'll get to you in the back there 1 second. To finish that, so crime in progress, you see somebody stealing something, it's ongoing, 911. Things like suspicious activity or a theft that occurred last week or something, the new number. Also, what we refer to as like your non-emergency detachment number. So I don't know what that is for the GP rural detachment, but it would be, you know, published on the internet and stuff. That will still work, but the 310 number, 310, anywhere you are in the province, if you dial that, it will connect to the appropriate detachment. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, another great thing right there. The online crime reporting, you are a little bit limited as to what you can report on there, but simple thefts are a good example. Theft under $5,000, but if it's something that has like surveillance or witnesses, a police officer is required to, you know, engage with you and collect that evidence. But if you do go online, you certainly, it kind of walks you through, you know, does this crime have this, yes or no? And it'll tell you basically if you can continue or if you need to call the detachment. So, great point. Yeah, it's also on the website as well. Question in the back, sir.
Yeah, so towards the end of your presentation,
Yeah, so the big one is simply doing that reporting. So a problem that we find is a lot of folks, when it's a small crime, are reluctant to report it, particularly if it's a crime that they're not even sure when it occurred. So a good example of that would be you have a seasonal like recreational property, you know, you're not there all the time. You go out there today and you realize somebody stole the lawnmower, but you haven't been there for a month. So it could have been yesterday and it could have been 3 weeks ago. You don't have surveillance cameras, you know, there's no neighbors in close proximity, so probably nobody that saw it. So a lot of people just say, I'm not going to waste the police time by reporting that crime. And yes, in a lot of cases, we probably aren't going to be able to do much if there is a lack of evidence, but knowing that crime occurred in that particular location is very beneficial to us. You know, if there's a crime spree or a crime trend in a particular area, that is going to direct our resources, you know, appropriately to target that particular location. But if everybody's not reporting, then we're not getting an accurate picture of where we need to direct those resources. And then simply just, yeah, reporting suspicious activity as well. You know, a lot of folks out here, you know, those of you who have lived in the area for decades, you know what is normal in your community, right? Like, you know who belongs, and when something just doesn't feel right or seem right, it probably isn't. So sometimes that could be somebody that we're looking for. Again, if we look at, you know, we see crime sprees where somebody will steal a truck and they'll do a bunch of break-ins in a particular area of the county. We might be looking for a blue Ford F-150, and you might see one on your road and say, that doesn't look right. So that phone call to you that you may be hesitant, oh, I don't want to waste the police time. Once we get that call, that might be like, that's the guy we've been looking for 3 days. So those types of things are beneficial for sure. Any other questions? No? All right, if you do have Beaver Lodge questions, like I said, I'll address those kind of individually afterwards. And otherwise, I think it's Chad's turn here. I'll let you introduce him, Lindsay.
Okay, so the property security and safety assessments, the county does have a position for that. It's currently vacant. Once it is filled, the county position will also be working with Chad, conducting these assessments. You don't have a slide introducing yourself. So this is Chad. He's with the RCMP, and I'll let you give yourself your introduction.
My intro.
Yeah, you just got to tap.
That one? So my name is Chad Cronk. I'm the Crime Prevention Liaison with the Western Alberta District RCMP. I work out of a unit out of Edmonton called the Community Safety and Wellbeing Unit. So they basically places a number of positions similar to mine in other districts as well. So very similar to Chris, I provide support to detachments in the Western Alberta District area, all the way from High Level down to Jasper and all the way over from the BC border to Marithorpe. So you can imagine I'm a fairly busy individual. So having a position similar to the community safety coordinator that they're going to have at the county will actually ease a little bit of my work because this individual will be performing a lot of the different functions that I perform on a regular basis to victims of break and enters or property crime. So when you're looking at it, so I'm kind of wearing two hats, just kind of filling you guys in on what the community safety coordinator position will be doing. But basically they will be doing property assessments similar to what I do with a lot of victims of property crime. And basically what they'll be doing is they'll be setting up an initial meeting, and there's another slide where you can set up those meetings. They'll come out to your property, do a review and assessment, and then provide you with a report. So it says that I complete them. I complete them on behalf of the RCMP. The community safety coordinator will be completing them on behalf of the county and those types of things. So when we complete a property assessment, we use what's called CPTED, another lovely acronym.
Basically, what CPTED stands for is Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. And what it does is it takes a look at your built environment, your home, your building, your property. And what we do is we use a number of different factors to take a look at it and make it more obvious for individuals to be able to have clear sight lines, how secure your doors are, all of those types of things. And a lot of the times, having a second person come in and take a look at your property, you'll find out a lot of the vulnerabilities, because that's what we do. That's what we kind of focus on. So it focuses on reducing crime and fear of crime. So that could be anything from lighting or those types of things. But it also encourages connections with your neighbors and different areas, and creating a sense of community as well. When a security and safety assessment is done, there are the 4 core concepts that we use. So the first one is access control, and I always just kind of simplify it. That's doors and windows. So you're looking at your locks, you're looking at whether or not you have wooden doors versus metal doors. On your windows, do you have bars? Are you using locks on your windows? Are your ground level windows secure? Are they easily accessible? Is there landscaping that's actually preventing or hiding people so that they can get into those windows? Are you using, from a business perspective, if you don't have bars and roll gates over your windows, are you using some other type of security film on those windows so that they're less easy to break? Then the next one we talk about is territorial reinforcement, and somebody was talking about trespassing. So territorial reinforcement basically sets up the area between public and private use land. So the use of signage, most people go, well, I don't need to put up a sign, or those types of things. By putting up a sign, you're identifying your property or letting people know. And yes, people might be shooting them. So, but that just lets you know somebody was there. But those types of trespass signs, by setting up or defining the border, will actually allow the RCMP or county enforcement to come in and actually enforce on the property. Where if there's not, and there's some kind of disintegration between what is public or private land, right? And territorial reinforcement can also be defining walkways and pathways and those types of things, so that when somebody is in your neighborhood, if they're walking in the middle of your neighbor's lawn that's nicely manicured and they have a nice walkway right up to their front door, they're going to look out of place. So that actually helps identify people that are in your neighborhood that you might not want to be in your neighborhood. Then we go into natural surveillance. Natural surveillance covers lighting, it covers cameras, it covers basically visual acuity around your property. So it can even go with landscaping. A lot of people allow the trees on their property to have low-hanging limbs where people can hide themselves. Those are called ambush points. They're called ambush points for a reason, because they can actually conceal somebody. So if you have trees, are they trimmed 6 foot high? Do you have straight visual sight lines from your property to the roadways, to your backyards? And we also talk about, my father used to say, tall fences make good neighbors. But they also hide everything that's going on in your backyard when somebody's performing a crime, right? So getting to know your neighbors, getting to trust that people are not spying on you when you're in the backyard, unless you're doing something that you don't want them to see, from that perspective. And then finally, probably the most important one is maintenance and management of the property. Are all your lights working? Do you regularly check your lighting? Do you look at your lighting in the dark? It's easy to say that you do in the winter, but in the summer, when the sun stays out till 11 or 12 o'clock at night, are you aware that your lighting is working or not? Do your cameras work? If you have cameras, are you checking them on a regular basis? Do they conflict with the lighting that's on the property, or those types of things? So these are all things that we kind of take into consideration. Every property is different. Some have maintenance issues, some have sightline issues, some have all of the different issues. So and Even more difficult is that a lot of the concepts that we look at are primarily designed for municipal kind of settings, not rural settings, but they can all be applied to rural settings. They're just a little bit different in terms of how you look at it. You're obviously not necessarily going to chain link fence off an acre property or a 2-acre property. But what are the things that you can do to actually define those fence lines, make it more difficult or more defensible for you? So as I said, from the county's perspective, they have a website set up, or on their, I believe it's on your website, Kyle? Where you can actually just access and put in a request. And those requests right now, I believe, will go to Kyle, and then he'll assign somebody from that perspective, or possibly even talk to me to see in the interim whether or not I can come out to a specific property. So next we talk about rural crime reporting and programs, and I've talked with a couple people in the audience today, but and as Chris reinforced, the most important thing is that the RCMP and most organizations are statistically based. So reporting crime is one of the most important things that you can do. And I hear it a lot. I didn't want to bother the RCMP with this call. But a lot of the times, the RCMP don't follow Facebook. They don't know what's going on in your particular neighborhood. So if crime is not reported to them, they won't know what's going on. So we talked about a number of different ways for crime to be reported. The actually 310 that Chris just talked about, I actually hadn't heard about. So that tells you how sometimes gaps get made from that perspective, but I'm gonna actually look into it a little bit more. But as you can see, emergency-based instances, call 911. Non-emergency, we have the Grande Prairie Rural Detachment, which is 830-5700. Online, property crime can be reported online now, and actually through the app, as well as Crime Stoppers, which is a really good one as well. If you have suspicious activity that's happening within your area, you can always report a tip to Crime Stoppers. Then we talked about the Alberta RCMP online and mobile app. Again, online crime reporting, you can just type into Google online crime reporting and you can actually, it'll take you right to the site. The other way to do it is there is an app for Android and Apple. No, we are not tracking you. So that app is not designed to track anybody's movements or anything like that. But it is actually a lot of different features to it. You can see on the bottom, any news releases that are put out by the RCMP, you'll actually see in real time for the whole province. There's Project Lockup, which is what I do, or primarily every 6 months I get lists of properties that have been broken into, and I contact all of those 300 some properties. There's also the crime map. You can actually report crime to Crime Stoppers through that app. It's not an app that a lot of people know about. So it's a really good resource, and I highly recommend people putting it on there. The other program, one of the other programs that is starting to be used a little bit more by the RCMP in the area as well is called RAVE, and that is actually on that app as well. So for questions or concerns reporting about traffic safety, animal control, again, this is the County Regional Enforcement Services. And those would be all the kind of bylaws and those types of instances. Then when we're talking about other programs in terms of how the RCMP is trying to get information out, a couple of the detachments in our area, Whitecourt in particular, has been using this program. Basically, it sends out, it's a self-registration program or registered program that you can go and register. And what it is that the RCMP will send alerts out to individuals, whether it be a stolen vehicle in an area, or they have a high police presence in a particular area, or even crime prevention information or different information to the individuals in the area. Again, it can be signed up through on the RCMP app, and they're starting to use it more and more in a lot of different areas, especially rural areas and those types of things. So it's a lot easier for people to get those kind of text messages. And you can sign up for your particular area, or you could sign up for the whole province if you wanted to. See if you want your phone to be going off all the time. Another self-registration program that helps the RCMP is called Capture. And again, I want to stress, when you self-register for this, all you are doing is you are letting the RCMP know that you have cameras on site. You're not obligated to give the RCMP any information or any of the video from those cameras, but what it helps the RCMP with is investigational avenues. So rather than having to walk around the neighborhood door to door to see if anybody's got a camera, they can basically pull up a spreadsheet of a neighborhood, see who has cameras, and then it kind of allows them to focus in on specific neighbors to see if they have cameras or footage of property crime or something that happened in that area. Again, the RCMP, you can decline giving them any of that video or anything else like that, and it is self-registration, so you're giving them the information that you have, or all you're giving them is the information for them to know that you have a camera on site. And it just makes it a little easier from an investigational point. And then there's the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods is a unit under the Alberta Sheriffs. And basically that's where you can report different crimes as well. You can see all the different avenues that you can report crime to. And then finally, I'm going to talk just a little bit about auto theft. So one of the things that I've found in my crime prevention, and crime prevention is a huge portfolio, as you can imagine, and I primarily deal with break and enters, but auto theft makes up probably about 50% of the property crime that I see. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, because you watch probably TV from Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, most people are not stealing your F-150 to ship it over to Saudi Arabia to sell. What they're doing is they're using primarily auto theft is in this area is performed for one of two reasons. Somebody is stealing a truck so that they can go use it in rural theft, or they need transportation from Grande Prairie to Beaver Lodge, so they're going to steal a vehicle in Grande Prairie, drive it, and dump it in Beaver Lodge. So that's where you want to talk about opportunity and reducing the amount of opportunity. That means leaving your vehicle running, not locking your vehicle, leaving valuables in your vehicle, and those types of things. So Operation Cold Start is primarily focused in the winter when people are leaving their vehicles with the keys in them to run. And it's super interesting how people in a lot of rural communities think they're a lot safer than they are. And crime prevention, the number one tool for crime prevention is reducing the amount of opportunity that anybody has to do or perform a task. And I also talk about, like, don't leave your phone, don't leave your wallet in plain sight, but also things like Yeti mugs that are $100 a piece, right? They become an attractive item. If you've got a $100 Yeti mug in your car and people see that, what else is there, right? So those are types of things that you want to take a look at. That's not me. Okay. And
Any questions for Chad?
sure.
That's on you.
Oh.
mentioned signing on your property. Does that sign have to say something specific to allow you, like if I just go to Princess Auto and buy a sign that says no trespassing, is that enough?
No trespassing is enough. It is, because basically what you're doing is you're putting it on your property line and you're identifying that as your private property. So that what that does is it then allows the RCMP, if they're there, the sign is visibly there, they're on the other side of the sign, they can enact all of the things that they need to.
So it says, no person shall trespass on a premise with respect to which the person has had notice not to trespass. For the purpose of subsection 1, that was what I just read, notice not to trespass may be given to a person orally or in writing by the owner or authorized representative of the owner, or by signs visibly displayed at each of the entrances normally used by the person to enter the premise. In the case of a premise referred to it further down, it says at all fenced corners, or if there's no fence, at each corner of the premises. So yes, they do need to be signed.
I would always tell you to call the RCMP, even if it's a non-emergency line. That would be the first place that I would call, and they can direct you from there.
Thank you.